Today, we're going to dive into a story from 15th century India that pretty much turns our whole idea of loss completely upside down. We're looking at the life and the legacy of a great saint, Madhavendra Puri. But you know, this isn't your typical biography. It's really an explainer on his disappearance.
And yeah, that brings us right to the big question, doesn't it? How can a disappearance, something we normally think of as sad or mysterious or just final, how can that actually be a reason to celebrate? Okay, let's get into it.
So the key to all of this is understanding this one concept, the Disappearance Day. In the Vaishnava tradition, this is not a day for mourning at all. Far from it. It's seen as this incredibly auspicious, powerful moment. It's the triumphant return of a great soul to their eternal home. So it's marked not with tears, but with festivals, with singing, and with remembrance.
To really get this, check out the analogy on this slide. Think about a cat. A cat uses its mouth for two very different things, right? It uses its mouth to gently carry its kittens to safety, and it uses that same mouth to catch a mouse. Now, for the kitten, that experience is all about comfort, security, love. But for the mouse, well, that's the end. So the passing of a devotee is like being carried by a loving mother, while for someone else, it can be a terrifying experience. Same event, but a totally different reality.
So, with that idea in our minds, we can start to see the story of Madhavendra Puri not as some kind of tragedy, but as exactly what it is, an auspicious disappearance. Okay. Let's properly meet the central figure of our story today. We're heading back in time, way back to 15th century India to learn about a really pivotal saint named Madhavendra Puri.
Just to give you a little historical context, Madhavendra Puri lived from about 1420 to 1490, and during his life, he did something huge. He was the one who rediscovered the sacred land of Braj, which is the place of Lord Krishna's pastimes. His incredible life journey came to a close in a town called Ramuna, and that's the spot where he disappeared. So who exactly was he? Well, for starters, he was a famous ascetic in the Madhava spiritual lineage. And this is crucial. He was the grand spiritual master of Lord Chaitanya, who is one of the most important figures in the entire tradition. He was known for being just completely absorbed in what they call prema, or divine love. In fact, many people see him as the one who really planted the first seeds of the massive devotional movement that Lord Chaitanya would later lead.
This quote from a sacred text, man, it really gives you a window into his spiritual state. It says his very being was just saturated with divine love. His food, his sustenance, it wasn't what you and I eat. It was the ecstatic feelings of love for Krishna. He was, in every possible sense, living on a totally different plane of consciousness.
And now we get to probably the most famous story from his life. It's an event that starts with a mysterious dream and leads to this absolutely profound discovery in the holy land of Vrindavan.
Okay, so picture this. Madhavendra Puri is on pilgrimage, and he's resting under a tree. He's so deep into his spiritual practice that he's actually forgotten to eat. Then, all of a sudden, this beautiful young cowherd boy appears, like out of thin air, and he offers him a pot of milk. But before Madhavendra Puri can even ask his name, poof, the boy is gone, vanished.
You can imagine, Madhavendra Puri was just left there wondering, who was that incredible boy? He couldn't sleep. And then, as he finally dozed off late that night, the very same boy appeared to him again, but this time, it was in a dream. And he had a message.
In the dream, the boy reveals his true identity. He was actually the deity form of Lord Gopala, and he'd been hidden away in a nearby thicket for centuries for protection. He explained that he was suffering from the cold, the rain, the heat, and he pleaded with Madhavendra Puri to rescue him. This wasn't just a dream. This was a direct divine instruction.
So this extraordinary dream was about to become a reality. It was about to lead to the reestablishment of worship for a deity that had been hidden for a very, very long time.
So, the very next morning, what does Madhavendra Puri do? He follows the dream's instructions to the letter. He gets all the local villagers together, and sure enough, they find the Gopala deity exactly where the dream said he would be. They carefully carried this heavy, ancient deity all the way to the top of Govardhana Hill. They built him a temple, and they held this magnificent installation ceremony, bathing him and offering an enormous feast. For 2 full years, Madhavendra Puri personally looked after the worship of Gopala. And then he had another dream. This time, Gopala instructed him to travel all the way to South India to get some rare sandalwood paste to cool his body. So
Madhavendra Puri, completely obedient, left on this journey, and it was from this very mission that he would ultimately disappear.
And this brings us to his legacy. You see, his disappearance wasn't an end. It was more like the blossoming of a seed that would grow into a massive global spiritual movement.
This quote, it just captures his importance perfectly. He's described as the first shoot of the desire tree of divine love in his spiritual line. What that means is, before him, this particular kind of intense, intimate, romantic love for God wasn't really the main focus of his tradition. He was the one who came and introduced this incredibly powerful spiritual emotion.
And you can see his pivotal role right here in this chain of disciplic succession. He got the knowledge from his guru, he perfected it, and then he passed it down to his main disciple, Ishvara Puri, who then became the spiritual master of Lord Chaitanya. He is the direct, essential link. His physical presence might be gone, but you know what? His spiritual presence is very much alive. In Ramuna, the exact place where he disappeared, his memorial, or his samadhi, is still a major pilgrimage site for devotees today. It connects them directly to his story and to his teachings.
So in his final moments, was Madhavendra Puri afraid? Not at all. Instead, he was completely absorbed in reciting a single verse. And this verse captured the absolute peak of his teaching, this intense spiritual emotion that is somehow both painful and ecstatic, a feeling that's born from the experience of separation from the divine beloved, Krishna. And this really brings us to our final thought. The legacy of Madhavendra Puri isn't just about finding a hidden deity or starting a movement, it's about a feeling, a very specific spiritual mood. So we'll leave you with this question to think about. What does it truly mean to feel love, not just when you're together with someone, but maybe most intensely through the fire of separation?